What are the current can you give examples of violence done against women in society and in households?
Wow. When we say violence against women, there are a lot. It just doesn't encompass the very obvious, meaning the physical abuse, right? So you have a husband, um, beating the hell out of a woman or a wife, ganyan. That's just not it. When we say violence against women, we also could pertain to, economic violence. What does that mean? You're not giving the women the proper venues or avenues wherein they could earn a decent living to live their lives. Like for instance, why are women being given a lower salary than men in the same job position, in the same company sometimes? That happens. So why is that? So that's kind of like, that's a form of economic violence, things like that. Like for instance, also, if you do not allow a woman to decide what to do with her body, that's also a form of violence. For instance, like that's very contentious right now. Like kunwari, an issue is yung reproductive health, right? The RH bill, if you're familiar with that. Why is that very controversial and familiar? Because basically, that bill is trying to liberate, the decisions that a woman can make about her own body. I can do this. I can get a, I can get whatever, blah blah. And I don't need a man or my husband or my father's blessing or signature to do those things. But sadly, kasi we have some rules that are like that. And but the thing is, some of the men in our society are not really, or even the women, they think that the RH bill is wrong and stuff like that. But basically, it's also about liberation, So, so that's the thing. When you curtail the rights, any kind of rights, sexual rights, reproductive rights, economic rights, political rights, cultural rights, even, lahat tayo may rights, We all have these rights. If you curtail those rights against women, that is a form of violence, and that is wrong. Sadly, it kind of exists, So, yeah, we have cultural violence. Sometimes, what does that mean? Well, you're not giving the woman the free will or the enough participation to participate more in her culture, or if if a woman can get an artist sometimes, but you are limiting them, to create just this or just that, things like that. Also, violence could have certain degrees. It's just not just the obvious one.
Are women only the ones who get violated between the two sexes?
No. Everyone can get violated. Like I told you kanina, even men can get violated. They could get sexually harassed, they could get raped. I mean, it's not just because you don't have a vagina. You also have an opening somewhere in your body. If something is forced in a sexual nature, that's sexual violence, and that's rape. Men can also get hurt, beaten by whoever, So yeah, so violence is, sadly violence exists, and both men and women are subjected to that. So
What is the role of media in our society in terms of gender equality and development?
well, I'm hoping that media in our society would play the role of informing properly everyone about what should be the proper gender relations in society, in terms of being humanist about their approach in terms of portraying women, not just portraying women as victims or portraying women as subjects or objects to be desired, to be sexually objectified, things like that. Media is very guilty of doing a lot of things like that. That's why we have that concept of the male gaze in cinema, wherein the camera is biased towards men. So that means the automatic assumption of the male gaze is that whoever's behind the camera is male. And so whatever it is that the male is shooting, that is the male gaze. So if he is shooting a woman, what will he focus on? The woman has to be beautiful, has to be desirable, so that's the male gaze, how men look at women. Also, that's sometimes the predominant thing about cinema sometimes, so we have those things, So sadly, those things still exist. But happily, they are also being questioned by a lot of maybe more gender sensitive or more gender aware filmmakers or media practitioners who do not really subscribe to having just the male gaze, just having a gaze where people could look at it, because sometimes when you frame things, they're very gendered, and we have to be careful about those kinds of framing. So, and also media portrayals of women, diba? So for instance, there are always in teleseries crying, or stuff like that. Where are the men? So those are the things of how are men portrayed. For instance, in the news, so it's different. All kinds of media, they're very guilty of, objectifying women. But also, I'm really happy also that there are certain media outlets and media practitioners who are trying to, up the ante in terms of gender sensitivity. So sometimes you see a lot of TV commercials right now, wherein they portray kind of like the women are not really subject to all of those things in terms of the male gaze. So, kumbaga, what I'm saying is that times are changing, and I'm happy that most of media are changing along with that. So that means they're being humanist in terms of how they portray women and men right now. So of course, sadly, it's not true for all media, but at least there's some media who are trying to have that kind of gender sensitivity outlook. So yeah, so basically their role should be, just to uplift the human spirit, or show us whatever it is that needs to be shown in terms of gender relations, in terms of how genders are, not just to glorify one gender and to subject another gender in a lower rung than the other one. No hierarchies. So those are the things that I'm hoping media would do more.
How can media help in promoting gender equality, women empowerment, and women's rights?
Well, there are a lot of ways. Basically, you also have to look at who owns the media, because sometimes it's the owners who are the gatekeepers. So meaning, if your boss is a male, and you have to look at how that male also thinks. If he's a man and he's the kind of man who's not gender sensitive, we have a big problem. For instance, you have a television station, and and there are a lot of shows that are centered on women's rights, or you have strong female characters, and when you present it to that big boss who's a man, sometimes he wouldn't like that. Why? Because we're the men, or he would ask you should have some kind of leading man there. Why is there only a woman or something? It depends on how they look at things. Sometimes they are the gatekeepers, these media gatekeepers, and that's very dangerous. If the gatekeepers are not gender friendly or gender sensitive, then we have a problem with all the products that they're going to make. So that's the thing. They have to be careful about that. So maybe we could have more media outlets that are run by women. But also, another thing, it's not automatic that if a woman runs a media outlet, then automatically there's gender sensitivity. Sometimes women also think in a sexist way. Yes, so that's kind of like scary, right? So that's why, again, we have to go to the bottom line, just being human, regardless if you're a man or a woman, whoever they are, they should be conscious always of presenting all genders, in an equal light. No one is there should be no hierarchy in terms of the genders. There should be no discrimination in terms of gender identities and expressions, and all of those things. So the thing is, they also have to give a chance to those kinds of shows, TV programs, films that express all of the things that are not really, or we're not seeing every day. Because what are we seeing every day? We're always seeing the woman as kawawa, the woman as subservient, docile housewife, whatever. Or if she is a strong-willed woman, she's not lucky in love, so you have to choose career or family, you don't have to choose those things, so that's the thing. So media should be able to give that kind of chance, to be run by people who are more gender sensitive, gender fair. So that's the thing. It always should have our media should always have this kind of gender justice. We call it gender justice because that's kind of like connected to social justice. You emancipate the whole society when you have that kind of social justice. No there's no discrimination against anybody, rich or poor. No discrimination against looks, or if you're able-bodied or you're disabled or not able. Things like that. Everyone should have the chance, to work in the media, to be exposed to the media, to have themselves truly reflected in the media. So that should be the bottom line. Whoever you are, not just because you're a woman or a man. No privileges.
How does media influence the mindset of society when it comes to gender stereotyping, gender relations, constructs, and gender constructs?
How does the media influence?
The mindset of society.
Oh, that's actually a whole course of discourse in itself. No, basically, let's face it, we're all media consumers. The moment you wake up, what do you get and what do you check? Your cell phone, media. You're always online. You check Twitter, you check your email, whatever. That's already media in your hands. Okay. You go out, you prepare for your day. You hear the radio in the background. That's your media. We're a very media saturated country. Okay, and when we say media saturated, everywhere you go, you have media around you, right? Walang takas. Wala tayong takas sa media. Now, what do we do about that? We have to be very conscious in our media consumption. Because that's the thing. We eat media, it feeds us. Literally, well, of course not literally that we feed us. It feeds us a lot of information, in terms of, we are all media consumers, so day in and day out, we're very exposed to whatever it is on the billboard, whatever we see in the movies, on television, we hear on the radio, even the songs that we download, what are the songs that they're singing about, your favorite artists. Everywhere you log on to the internet, there is another kind of media there. We're all media consumers. Now the thing is, my question to you is, how do you eat healthy? How do you eat healthily? Okay? So how can you be a healthy media consumer? So the thing is, not everything that media feeds us, we pick up and we consume. We also have to be selective in terms of our media consumption. Because the thing is, not all media messages are to be consumed or to be just swallowed without thinking about it. That's why we have to be critical always about media. So this is where media literacy comes in. So that's what media literacy means. You have to be literate about what these messages are saying. Like for instance, if your favorite singer, or I don't know, maybe is a hip-hop artist, but the hip-hop artist, he's cool, he has nice songs, his beats are danceable, but what are the messages that he's saying? So in the songs pala, he's saying na, oh no, it's okay, to slap my bitch when whatever. Dude, it's all cool, it's nice, it's whatever, bling bling, but the messages that gets here. So when it gets here, it gets here. That's dangerous, no? So the thing is, we're consuming things. Just like we're eating healthy, no? So you have to also have a healthy media, serving. So that's the thing. You have to be careful about what you consume. It's not because it's a product of Hollywood. You just swallow it, hook, line, and sinker, and things like that. You have to be careful because a lot of the messages that they're crafting, they're very gendered also. That's a thing also. And again, this is where media literacy comes in. You have to learn how they frame men, how they frame women. So is it fair? Diba? So is it very acceptable to you? Like for instance, like for instance, there's this show right now, My Husband's Lover, and then the thing is, it's about two gay guys who are in love, and then they were having a fight. They beat up each other, and then after that, they cuddle each other. Oh, I'm sorry, but that's the thing, that what are these messages showing us? Yes, they may be true to life. Yes, they may be showing us the real side of, gender relations when it comes to men-to-men relationships. But the thing is, you're also telling people that, hey, maybe gays or most gays are, okay with being beaten up or having domestic violence in their house. And then after that, you just say, oh, I'm sorry, baby, ganyan, that's dangerous, So that's the thing. You have to be careful about the messages that you put in your media products, and we as consumers, we have to be careful about reading these products and eating them up. That's the point. With media literacy, you do not eat. You do not eat directly. So you have to be careful about those kinds of media consumption. So you have to guard yourself talaga against that. And yeah, it might sound tedious, but the thing is, you just have to go back to the basics. What do you believe in? If you believe in human rights, if you believe in people having equality, and then if you see inequality being glorified in the media, of course you just reject it outright, right? So that's the thing. You just have to be conscious about being human, that's all. And then you have to look at how media is portraying us humans. And then how are they portraying us as gendered humans, So that's the thing. So it's just that simple actually. You just have to be careful about what you consume as a media consumer, because every day we get fed a lot of messages, every day, either blatantly or sometimes subliminally, you don't even know. So that's why you have to be careful about those things. And of course, we have to be conscious, Of course, that's our health, right? So,
How does media... Ang last question na po. What is your...
gusto mong, i-on off ulit o baka para safe lang? Baka mamatay ulit. Hindi naman?
Sige po.
Para safe na.